realtor was my dream from the time I was old enough to dream about what I wanted to be when I grew up. Not only did I want to sell homes, I wanted to flip them too. Both of my parents were realtors, so I grew up learning the lingo and helping parents set up for open houses. I don't remember a lot of specific properties my parents have sold, but I'd say the ones that did stick out were the ones that were haunted. My mom loved selling properties that had been reportedly haunted or had something bad happen in them, because she said it was like rewriting history. She said it was her personal mission to fill these homes with love and laughter, the way they were intended to be. My dad, on the other hand, if he came across a haunted property, or one that had a dark history, he dreaded it. "It's a nightmare," he said. "You can't put a positive spin on death," he added. So when I was presented with my first chance to handle a haunted property, I was faced with the decision to flip and sell a property that had a major crime happen just 5 years prior. This property was well known on the news because of the true crime event that happened in it, so I knew it would have to be handled delicately. I ultimately decided the press and experience with it would be really good for my business, so I'd be a fool to turn it down. I was warned by the family, who still had the home in their possession, that there was a lot of paranormal activity in it every time they were there to do something. Starting only days after the event happened, when the family went to the home to pick out clothes for the victims for the funeral. I wasn't convinced one way or another on the paranormal. I had had things happen in my life that could have been paranormal. No one could ever be 100% sure. I was going in with an open mind. I wasn't going to go in terrified and apprehensive, but I wasn't going to ignore the fact the home had a dark history either. First, we were going to completely gut the living room, dining room, and kitchen, and completely remodel them to look completely different than they did at the time. I wanted to give the house a complete overhaul so it was fresh and new to whoever would buy it. The evening before we were to start the remodel, I was doing a walkthrough to finalize the plans. I had to admit to myself that when you stepped into the house, it really did have a heavy feeling. The first day went well. The crew started tearing everything out, and I spent the day overseeing the process, just helping where I could. After thanking the crew and seeing everyone out, I stayed behind to lock up. Looking back, I should have left with them, because I think tearing the house up upset whoever or whatever was lingering in the house. A door slammed and it made me jump because I was focused on a text from my wife. I thought everyone had left, but maybe one of the crew members missed the memo. I searched, but no one was around. It was one of the bedrooms. The door was shut tightly to the smallest one. Making sure no one was still lingering, I locked up the house and headed home. It was winter, so it got dark early, and it was nearly dark when I pulled in the driveway at 5 p.m. I was only home maybe an hour, and we were just cleaning up dinner when I got a call from a strange number. Apparently, someone called the police to report that after I had locked up and left, all the lights were turned on and there was bass thumping from the house. I know all the lights were off when I left. I double-checked. And the crew didn't have the code to unlock the house. Only myself and my assistant did. I rushed back to the house to make sure no one broke in. Teens sometimes broke into abandoned homes and had parties. It wasn't an unheard of thing in our big city. Especially haunted houses, because it added an extra element of fun. When I pulled up, I noticed only one light on. The bedroom that the door slammed on earlier. Getting out of my car, there was no music playing anywhere. I didn't hear the bass the person who called the police heard. In fact, it was eerily quiet and still. I figured I better go in and make sure no one had gotten in and hid. But I entered the code on the lock, and it wouldn't budge. I retried 4 or 5 times, and it still wouldn't unlock. On the 6th time, it finally did, and I was able to get in. When I opened the door, there was light peering out under the bedroom door, and I heard footsteps shuffling behind the door. I know I should have backed out and called the cops in case there was an intruder, but instead I went straight to the door and flung it open, heart about to pound out of my chest. There was no one on the other side of the door, thankfully. I know, it could have gone badly. Since nothing seemed off, I planned to shut the light off, lock up, and get out. But of course it couldn't go that smoothly. It was a haunted property after all. Shutting the light off, I took note of the fact that I was shutting it off and leaving the door open. As I was walking back towards the kitchen, which was now pretty much the shell of a room after the day's gut job, there was a crash somewhere upstairs. I jumped and let out the most unmanly scream I've ever heard. Okay, I thought to myself, maybe there is someone in here with me. I felt to make sure my phone was in my pocket, ready to dial 911, and headed towards the stairs. Hello, who's here? If you come out now, you will not be in trouble. I own this house, and if you cooperate, there's no need for the police. But no one responded, so I said, okay, I'm coming up. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I just want to know who's in my house. Again, no one answered, so I headed upstairs. I wasn't calling the police. I was angry at this point. I had given them plenty of chances to leave. I only made it halfway up the stairs when a ball came rolling down towards me. It was something you see in a horror movie, but it was happening to me. I grabbed the ball and headed the rest of the way upstairs. Turning into the door on the left, I let out a gasp. This room was staged as a kid's playroom, and every single toy was flipped on its side as if a kid had a tantrum and went around the room flipping them all in anger. But before I could fully process what was happening, I heard footsteps in the hallway and the bedroom door slammed shut. I was panicking at this point. There was something terrifying about having a door slam and confine you to a room when no one was supposed to be in the house with you. By this time, I realized it was paranormal, but it wasn't any less terrifying than having a real live intruder. The door wouldn't open no matter how hard I tried. Finally, about 10 minutes later, as I was on the phone with my best friend, seeing if he could come to help me out, the door started slowly opening. Once it opened enough for me to get through, I ran downstairs and out the door, locking it behind me. From then on, I made a rule. No one was allowed in the house alone. We operated on the buddy system. Throughout the entire remodel process, crew members reported hearing doors slam, footsteps up and down the hallways, and a few people even saw shadowy figures in the windows as they pulled away each night. I had never been so glad to sell a home as I was when this one finally sold. I'm a true crime junkie, so I believe I know which house you are talking about. But of course, for safety purposes, I won't be mentioning it. And if I am right, I heard the stories from your crew in a YouTube video. Thanks so much for writing in. I would have passed out when the door slammed behind me. If you have a paranormal story to share for an upcoming video, email it to the address in the description below. Please like and subscribe. I'm excited to be at 80 subscribers and hopefully we'll hit the 100 mark soon. Thank you all for being here. And with that, see you tomorrow, friends.